Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're talking about the green SRs and starter deck cards from set 10. So a lot of really powerful cards here. It seems like green is on track to possibly have the strongest Unison cards. I mean, time will tell when we see the red, black, and yellow stuff. But as of right now, these cards seem very difficult to top. So with that being said, guys, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell so you don't miss a video. If you want to help support the channel during these trying times, there are many free ways to do so. You can always like the video, maybe share the video, maybe watch an ad. And if you want to help the channel, you can also pre-order these cards using my TCG player link in the description. All that stuff really helps out a lot. That being said, let's get right on into this. So 2-drop Unison, Super Saiyan Bardock, Paternal Unison. Auto, when your opponent combos, you may place up to one card from the combo area in the owner's drop area if you do negate the skill for the turn. So you basically nullify a combo every turn. That's really strong. Activate main +1. You may choose one of your green battle cards under the cost of 1 and KO it. If you do, your opponent chooses one card in their hand and discards it. -3. Activate main. This card gets plus 5,000 power and triple attack for the turn. The triple attack's pretty weird. Like, it could be triple strike. I mean, that'd probably be a little too strong, but otherwise, this card is stupidly strong. I think people know this already. I did talk about this in a previous video. I don't want to stick on it too much because we do have a new Unison card to go over that we haven't seen yet. Golden Frieza, Unison of Malice. +1, activate main, draw one card, then choose one card in your hand, place it on top of your deck, and this card gains critical for the turn. So this is going to work well with the new Ginyu leader because you need to stack your deck in order to get the Ginyus on top with the leader and, you know, play them free and whatnot. So that is pretty good, but in general, just, you know, basically +1, you get to fix your hand a little bit and then get a free 15k beater. Pretty solid. Activate main -2 until the end of your opponent's next turn. Your opponent can't attack with battle cards unless they choose one of their battle cards under the cost of two or more and place it in the owner's drop area. Man, we're seeing quite a few things with like Topo-like effects. In yesterday's video, we saw that Goku that is kind of like Topo, and this is also restricting your opponent's battle card attacks. I wonder if you have to give up a battle card just one time, or if you have to do it every single time you want to attack. I mean, it is a -2 skill, so you're probably not using it on the first time you cast this card unless you cast it on like turn 3, but besides that, very powerful card, very strong, gives green a lot of flexibility to kind of stall out a bit. All right, guys, so on to the starter deck stuff. As you guys know, I did mention in a previous video, the starter decks this time around are a bit different. So for the entire Unison Warrior block, which I believe is going to span one full year, we're going to be getting just 3 starter decks. So when set 10 comes out, we're getting 3 starter decks. We saw the Vegito stuff, we're seeing the Frieza stuff now, and we will see another one, the next color they decide to reveal, that contains a structure deck. And the purpose of these structure decks is for the cards within them and the strategies themselves to be bolstered over the course of the year the Unison Warrior block is released. So I believe that's how it's working. I don't think we're getting any more starter decks for the rest of the year once these drop. So it's kind of cool for consumers in the sense that you don't have to invest a ton in more starter decks. Like, yeah, you have to buy set 11, set 12, whatever, but you always had to buy new sets anyway. Now at least you won't have to buy so many starter decks, which is pretty nice. So if we had like a normal release, it's usually 2 starter decks per main set release. So that actually adds up to more over the course of a year. That is actually 6 to 8 starter decks over the course of a year that you'd have to buy instead of this setup where it's only 3 and that's it for the rest of the year. So that is pretty cool. So let's see what this Unison card does. 2-drop Frieza Zeno, Darkness Overflowing. So we talked about a Bulma yesterday that searches your 2-drop Unison cards. And right now we have 3 targets. Let's see what this one does. Permanent, if this card would lose a marker for an opponent's attack, you may place one card from life in your drop area instead. Interesting there. We saw the Demigra that says you can add a card from life to your hand if this would lose a marker by an attack. This guy says create yourself a life. Pretty different, pretty rough, but if you need him to stick around, you do have that flexibility. Activate main +1, choose one card in your hand and discard it, then draw one card. So basically a little bit of hand fixing. Activate main -1, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards when it costs 4 or less and KO it, or choose up to one of their Unison cards and remove a marker from it. So this is, again, a pretty good generic Unison card. So like I talked about yesterday, that Bulma that searches Unison cards has a lot of value in green decks because you have 3 pretty good targets to look at the top 5 for, whereas blue, the Zeno is actually like very specific to the strategy you're playing, and then the other Unison cards aren't all 2-drops for blue. So keeping that in mind, the top 5 searcher for blue might not be so great, but in green it is a little bit more of a viable thing. So moving on, we have the Frieza Starter Deck Leader. We'll start off with the Unawakened side. Permanent, you can't include sand cards in your deck. Man, Frieza, that dude hates those sands, huh? Auto, choose one Frieza Army card in your battle area, place it in the owner's drop area. When this card attacks a leader card, your opponent chooses one card in their hand and discards it. Then add up to one card from your life to your hand. So a little bit of a buffed Raditz Leader in a sense. You can always just play all the Frieza Army cards that just replace themselves, kind of like Lemon Lime Frieza does. But instead of untapping energy and drawing one, you're self-awakening and making your opponent discard a card. So pretty interesting, but you are still attacking your opponent's leader, so you have to give them a card in that sense. But it is pretty cool. Awaken, when your life's at 4 or less, you may draw one card, switch to one of your energy to active mode, flip this card over. Last Resort Frieza, very, very buff Frieza. Auto, when this card attacks, draw one, activate main once per turn, choose one Frieza Army card in your battle area, and place it in the owner's drop area. Choose one card in your opponent's hand, discard it, then choose up to one of your green Unison cards, and it gets critical for the turn. So one of the Unison cards already gives itself critical, but I guess you can use its other effect, then use this card to give that Unison card critical. So that's kind of like a little workaround. But otherwise, this is pretty good. I mean, again, it's kind of like an inverse Lemon Lime Frieza. You are sacrificing Frieza Army cards, but you're not untapping and drawing. You're ripping cards out of your opponent's hand and then getting some other minor effects. So it is pretty good. Also, a really cool thing is, like, nothing here is really restricting you to playing mono green. I mean, I guess if you were going to play this Unison card, you have to charge 2 greens by turn 2. I mean, I guess it's the case for technically all the Unison cards. But you could play green yellow, gives you access to Cold Bloodlust, gives you access to the Avenging Clan Frieza that searches more Frieza Army cards. So you do have a little bit of flexibility in your deck building here. But again, the Unison cards do kind of teeter you towards monocolor because you do want to drop the Unison cards by turn 2. Ginyu, Frieza's greatest soldier, 2 drop 15k. You will almost definitely be playing this in the Ginyu deck. Auto, when this card is played, shoot up to one of your leader cards or green Unison cards, and it gets plus 10,000 power for the turn. Auto, if your leader card is a green Frieza card, when this card is placed in a drop area from a battle area by a skill, always think successor when you see that. If it doesn't say your opponent's skill, always think successor. You may return this card to the owner's hand instead. So your Frieza can sacrifice it, you can recycle this card, or you can get it back with successor, which is actually really cool. You take less of a neg for getting rid of this card. It doesn't do too much in, I guess, like a pure Ginyu deck. I mean, you still get the boost of your leader or a Unison card, but kind of unfortunate you don't get the added benefit unless your leaders are green Frieza, but you probably will still play this in Ginyu Force just for the numbers and the names. Zarbon, Frieza's right-hand man, 1 drop 4k auto when this card is played. Look at the top 5 cards from the top of your deck. Add 1 green Unison card, specified cost of 2, or 1 green Frieza Army card with energy cost of 4 or less among them added to your hand and shuffle your deck. So green is basically going to get its own version of the Avenging Clan Frieza. Activate battle, pay a green. If your leader card is a green Frieza card, you have a green Unison card in play, and you send this card from your drop area to your warp, that's a big cost. Choose one of your leader cards or Unison cards, gets plus 10,000 power for the battle. Again, we're seeing 1-drops that have very big added value besides just cantripping. So if this thing's in the drop area, which you will sacrifice it for your leader effects, you're going to be able to use it again later on, which is quite good. Doria, Frieza's devoted servant, 1-drop auto if your leader card is a green Frieza and you have a green Unison card in play. If this card's placed in your drop area from your hand by a skill, and the Unison card does do that, you may play this card from your drop area. Again, free real estate. You discard it with the Unison card, you play it. Activate main, pay a green. If your leader card is a green Frieza Army card, you have a green Unison card in play. Add this card from your drop area to your hand. So a bit of a mana sink, kind of, because it is a bit like specific in what it's required to do. So basically, if you have the Frieza Unison, you discard, you draw, you get this card back to your hand, you can play it. So you can then pay a green to add it back to your hand. You can keep recycling that. So for a very cheap energy cost, you're basically getting free draws now at this point. That is pretty good. Again, pretty good. So we have a little bit of the boxing, I suppose. So another couple SRs I want to talk about. Frieza, Charismatic Villain. 5-drop counterplay. You can't activate counterplay skills for the rest of the turn and play this card from your hand. Permanent, when you have a green Unison card with 2 or more markers in play, you can activate this card's counter skill from your hand without paying energy cost. Of course, you don't want to pay 5 for this. Auto, when this card is played, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost of 7 or less and KO it. Okay, free counterplay, KO 7 or less. Now keep in mind, like, this is different from the Trunks a little bit because this doesn't have its text in the counterplay text, so your opponent still will get interplay effects, but still seems quite good. Removing a 7 or less pretty much hits everything except for like secret rares and some successor cards, but this is still very good nonetheless, especially for free. Dormant, Potential Unleashed, 1-drop counterattack. If your leader card is mono green, choose any number of your opponent's battle cards that add up to a total cost of 2, KO them. Additionally, you may choose 1 green card in your hand and discard it. If you do, your opponent can only attack once more this turn. Okay, a little bit of an upgraded Nimbus, and green is finally getting it, not yellow. So only 1 more attack for the turn. That means your opponent really can't play around this so well, because they can attack with a battle card first, still only 1 attack. They can attack with a leader, still only 1 attack. And you get the added benefit of KOing. That's pretty cool. Permanent, if you have a green Unison card in play, you can activate this card's counter skill from your hand without paying its energy cost. This card is very, very, very good. I'm very excited for this card in particular. Overall, I mean, the green stuff is actually really impressive. I do think green can make a splash in the meta. I think the structure deck setup is very, very good because of what the supporting cards around it do. And maybe even Ginyu can be pretty good. I want to know what you guys think in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think. What kind of green stuff are you experimenting with? Thank you for watching. I will see you guys next time.